To hear that I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough. I hear you say that I'm enough, I'm enough.
Amen. I want to direct your attention to the Old Testament, a book of wisdom in the Old Testament, which is Ecclesiastes. Amen. Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, beginning at the first verse through the 9th verse. And our rendering this morning comes from the King James Bible. Amen. The KJV. If you look on the screen, you will find these words. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteneth to his place, where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth again according to his servants. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. The thing that hath been, it is, that which shall be, and that which is done, which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. Amen. I want to talk to you from this topic, the same old song.
All right.
Amen. The same old song.
Same old song.
Amen. I am very blessed to have musically inclined people in the congregation. Amen. Wow, even the musically inclined people were like, yeah. I thought I would get some amens from that. But I am blessed to have that. And the one thing I like is hopefully I can relate this to you. Because there was a group that my mother liked and listened to of 4 men. And I kind of like the lead singer because he had that nice voice. Amen? But they were very popular. They were contemporaries of the Temptations. Amen? And they had a song that was with this title. It's the same old song. Amen? The thing about that song, the singer in the group was singing about how the song kept playing even though their love was gone. Amen? Amen. It's the same old song ever since you've been gone. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
And the thing is, he was lamenting that fact, that it seemed like nothing was going to change. When you're in heartbreak, it doesn't seem like you would get over it. But the thing that I want you to understand is that when you talk about the same old song in the Word, amen, somebody, that means that it should give us comfort to understand what we're going through is nothing new.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
I know you all have Spotify, create your playlist on your personal devices and things of that nature. But when I was growing up, you listened to stuff on the radio, and you kept your ear to it because you wanted to hear your favorite song. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
And if you caught it in the middle or near the end, you would still sit there and wait for that song to come on again. Amen. The reason why you did that is because, what? The radio station operated on what was called a playlist. Amen, somebody. If you listen long enough, in a certain amount of time, you will hear the same songs repeated. Amen, somebody. It's in rotation. There's a lot of things that we're going through in this world that happen to be on what? Rotation. Amen. Amen. I want to give you some hope. I want to give you some encouragement to understand that what we're seeing going on in the world today is in rotation.
Amen.
Amen, somebody.
Amen.
It's the same thing. And it sometimes we kind of miss it. Amen, somebody. And the reason why we miss it, amen, is sometimes we don't listen to the preacher. Amen, somebody. Because this is how the writer of Ecclesiastes introduces himself. He said, the words of the preacher. Amen. And if you look at the Christian Standard Bible, it's not, they don't use the word preacher, they use the word teacher. Amen, somebody. There's a lot of times we get caught up and we get messed up because we don't listen to what is being taught by the teacher. Amen, somebody. I understand. Sometimes we don't want to listen to the teacher because they're boring and they seem out of touch. But you need to understand the teacher is there for a purpose. Amen, somebody. To educate you on stuff you don't know.
Amen.
Amen, lights. Amen. Because the saying is true that some of our grandparents and some of our great-grandparents have said is that what we know wouldn't even fill a bucket. Amen, somebody. It's just a drop in the ocean. And the problem is that we walk around here thinking that we know everything, but we don't. Ooh, got quiet right there. Not only do we think that we know everything, but we don't. We bypass the stuff that we should have learned. Amen, somebody. Ooh, Lord have mercy. We bypass the places where we should have learned.
All right.
Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Echoes of angels that won't return. I ain't got nobody in here. The thing is that that's why a lot of times we wind up repeating the same things and walking around when the same situations happen is because, and we lose composure and we run around here like a chicken with a head cut off, is because we bypassed the places where we used to learn. We didn't listen to the teacher, and therefore we lose our security because we don't know what's going on, and we didn't learn from the last time.
Amen.
Amen, somebody.
Amen.
We keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again. Let me tell you something. We got a lot more brain power than a dog, but if you train a dog, he won't poop in your house.
That's right.
Amen, somebody. There's a whole lot of more. I witnessed that with my cat. Amen, somebody. He don't like to get sprayed, but he gets on top of my dresser, and every time he got a cup on top of my dresser, I grabbed the bottle, he looked at it and jumped right down. He only needed to get sprayed 1 or 2 times, and he realized something. That bottle was going to make me wet. Amen. But the question is, if we're more valuable, as Jesus would say, are we more valuable than the sparrows who God takes care of every day? Hello, somebody. How come we don't learn? Because we don't want to listen to the teacher.
All right.
Amen. But not only does he say that he's a teacher, he says he's the son of David, king in Jerusalem. In other words, he gives his lineage of who he is. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
I'm not just any old teacher. I am ruler.
All right.
Hello, somebody. Amen, somebody. I'm ruler. So if we deduce this with common sense, we figure out that this teacher is the king in Jerusalem, who is who? Solomon. Amen.
Amen.
Solomon wrote this. And what do we know about Solomon? Solomon is the wisest leader in the world.
All right.
Amen.
Amen.
He was called the wisest. Amen. He was called the wisest man that ever lived.
Come on.
Amen, somebody. And he's setting it out. And the reason why I said he's not only the teacher, but he's the ruler. We don't learn certain things because we don't like to follow rules.
Amen. That's right.
Amen, somebody. I don't need to follow no rules. Amen, somebody. Rules don't mean nothing. Amen. Rules don't, that's for y'all. That ain't for me. That's why you get in trouble. Amen. I was showing Trey a video on the psychology of folks in my generation. And the one thing they said is that we learned rules quick. Amen, somebody. We knew how to stay within the rules because the consequences were what? Swift. Amen, somebody. Ain't nobody with me. Amen, somebody. But we dealing with folks that don't want to deal with rules because they don't see the swift consequences of not following the rules. Amen, somebody. And here's a caveat to that. Not only do they might see the consequences of not following the rules, but they believe that their consequences is not because they didn't follow the rules. They think it's somebody else that's putting consequences on them.
Amen.
Amen, somebody.
Amen.
No. You got to follow the rules. Amen, somebody. You got to follow the dictate of what's going on. Because as the old preachers used to say, every tub got to sit on its own bottom. Meaning that everybody is responsible for what happens and how they react to when things happen to them. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
You got to respond. Amen. You either accept. Here's the thing. What does it say? John 3:16 says that God so loved the world that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Right? But the thing is, the next verse says, those that don't believe in him are condemned already. Amen, somebody. Salvation is out here for you to accept. And if it says that if you don't accept it, you're condemned already, you're not condemned because you didn't make the choice. You're condemned when you're born. Amen, somebody.
That's right. That's right.
And when somebody presents the gospel to you and you don't accept it, you receive the consequence of not accepting it, which is getting out of the state of condemnation.
Yeah.
Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Whew. So Solomon said that I'm not only a teacher, but I'm a ruler. And the one thing and he comes out and says, vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Amen?
Yeah.
I know y'all seen some vain people, right? Thinking they all that. Amen? But the true word in the biblical word of vanity is empty. It's empty. That empty of empties. Nothing's getting filled up. In the Christian Standard Bible, it says futility. Amen, somebody. The futility of things. Amen. I wish I had somebody in here. Everything is futile. Amen.
Amen.
Think about what's going on. There's a lot of stuff that is futile. It's empty. Empty excuses of why you don't carry out your responsibilities. Amen? Futile in terms of trying to cover up stuff. Futile in trying to oppress people. Futile in trying to what? Make yourself better than somebody else. Or lift yourself in vanity that you're better than everybody else. Word of wisdom from my late father. Don't think that you always got the power that's above everybody, because somebody's going to have more power than you. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Ooh. But what is it? What is it that profit a man all his labor which he taketh under the sun? That's futility. What I mean by that is that you got a lot of people that operate on greed. Amen? You've worked hard all your life. Just been greedy, stepping on folk. Make it like we trying to be some ancient Egyptians. Because what they did, and their leaders did, they amassed all the gold and stuff. And when they died, that stuff went in the tomb with them. Amen, somebody. With the belief that what they had amassed on earth, they're going to need in the afterlife. Amen. But here's the thing, when the tombs got open, all the stuff that was buried in the tomb was still there. Amen, somebody. It ain't go nowhere. Amen. Here's the thing, the vanity of it is that if you try to get all the money in the world, all the chicks in the world, all the dudes in the world, that's vanity. And it's empty. Because it doesn't profit you anything. It might make you have a good ledger book. It might give you a good reputation. It might sell your reputation. But guess what? You can't take it with you. Amen. Amen. And he says, one generation passeth away, and another generation cometh. In other words, he's re-emphasizing the fact, what does it profit you? Because you're in this generation. And this generation that you're in ain't going to be here forever. Amen? Here's a sobering thought I had a week ago. And I sat there and thought about it in my mourning process. Because not long after Grandma passed away, my friend that I had known close to 40 years passed away. And we were a group of 5 people in a dorm that always came to my room or somebody else's room in that dormitory in Tuskegee. And I counted on my hand us 5. It was me, my friend Harold, my friend Russell, my friend Roderick, and my friend Demetrius. Roderick and Demetrius went in the room next door to my door. In 1990, 89 and 90, my friend Roderick was killed in an auto accident. 3 years ago, my friend Demetrius died of sickness. In the fall of last year, my friend Russell died of cancer. And then Harold passed away of cancer. It means I'm the only one left out of those 5. And I sat there and thought about it, about how it seemed such a long time ago when we were younger, in our teens, late teens and 20s hanging out together. And within close to 40 years, there's only one of us left. That's a generation that's passed away. Think about it. But then, there's another generation that comes. Amen. My children. Amen.
Amen.
Their mates.
Amen.
Their friends they had that I coached in football. That's another generation that's coming up after my generation. And when we're off the scene, amen, to understand that you all will become us. Amen.
Amen.
And your friends are going to start passing from the scene. But then there's another generation, your children.
That's right.
It keeps moving. People are not going to be here forever. And that's what the preacher is talking about. And what he says, what remains is the earth
Yes, sir.
abideth forever.
Ever.
Not the world. The earth. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
That's something we should understand. We're not going to abide forever because of our sin. Amen. Because we inherited that problem from Adam and Eve. Amen. We all going to pass from the scene. But the earth remains. And when I mean the earth, I don't mean the world. I don't mean the system of economics and politics. I mean the earth. Well, some folks would like to say, what do you mean it's going to remain forever? Things are going to be destroyed. Things are going to come to an end. You got to understand, you need to read your word.
That's right.
You need to read your word. Some of y'all won't read the book of Revelation because you're scared of it.
Amen.
But the book of Revelation tells you that the earth will be renovated with fire. Amen, somebody.
Yep.
And I will bring down the new heaven and the new earth. I wish I had somebody in here. In other words, there's a purifying fire that's going to come
Yeah.
to purify the earth
Yes,
so that God can bring heaven to earth
Yeah.
the way he designed it. And I wish I had somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm about to mess somebody up. The way he designed it in the first place in Genesis.
Yeah.
Because man wasn't supposed to sin. Amen, somebody.
Yeah.
The earth, man was the intermediary between heaven and earth.
Yes, sir.
Why? Look at how man is made. I didn't mean to go there, but bear with me. Look at how man was made. He was formed from the dust of the earth.
Yeah.
Hello, somebody. And then he breathed into man the breath, the pneuma of life. And man became a living soul.
Yeah.
He had the earth being part of him. And what animated him was from God.
Yes.
And got
Yeah.
nobody. So that made man the intermediary
Uh-huh.
between heaven and earth.
Yeah.
Why do you think that God came in the cool of the day to talk to Adam? Because he was about to give Adam instructions. The day was done. Hello, somebody. He was about to give him, see, that's one of the things that we don't like to do when we talk about work. Adam and Eve had a job. They were assigned a task.
Amen.
Be fruitful and multiply, name the animals, tend to the garden.
Yeah.
God came at the end of the day to evaluate what was going on. Amen. And give instructions for tomorrow.
Amen.
Amen, somebody.
Yes, sir.
The problem that we have is that we don't want instructions. We disobey. Amen, somebody. Why is it that when we do some work and our boss comes, amen, somebody, and this is what makes some bosses micromanagers, because they had a little folk, they had too many folks that act like Adam and Eve and were disobedient and did not do their work.
Amen.
Amen, somebody. That's why you got micromanagers. To make sure that the work is being done. God gives you instructions. He expects you to do the work.
Amen.
Amen, somebody. And he comes back to check on what you did.
Amen.
Amen. Because we are free moral agents. And sometimes our free moral agents, it gets us in trouble. Just like Adam and Eve. They tried, they did part of the work. They hadn't been fruitful and multiplied. Amen, somebody. Remember that. Read your word. Adam and Eve did not have children until after they were kicked out of the garden.
That's right.
Hello, somebody up in here. Amen. They didn't have no children until after they were kicked out of the garden. So guess what? They weren't fruitful and multiplied right there. That's one thing. Amen. Somebody gonna read this the wrong way, but I don't care because that's what the word says. Amen. And then the second thing is that they disobeyed God. They named the animals. Amen. Somebody. They were trying to tend to the garden, but then they disobeyed God in the midst of them tending it.
Amen.
And ate of the fruit that they were told not to eat of.
Yeah.
Amen. So that introduced sin into the earth. Read it. The reason why the earth's got to be renovated with fire. Because when you get down to the curse in chapter 3 of Genesis, he told the woman what her curse was going to be. But he then told the man what his curse is going to be. He said, the earth, the ground is cursed for your sake. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Ooh. I'm trying not to preach the whole Bible. But you got to understand where this man is coming from. The earth is going to abide forever. We're not. Amen?
Amen.
We're not. And he sets it down. The sun arises and the sun goes down and hastens to his place where it arose. In other words, he's talking about the cyclical nature of the day. Amen, somebody. The sun rises in the east. Amen, somebody. And sets in the west. The next day, where does it rise from? Does it rise from the west? And no, it rises from the east. It goes in a circuit. Amen, somebody. And the wind goes toward the south and turns about onto the north. The wind moves on a circuit. Amen, somebody. Because if you understand the prevailing winds, if you ever track a storm in this country, the storms always move basically from west to east. Amen? They move that way. They move. I need you all sometimes in your spare time to look at stop frame animation of the planet Jupiter. The gas giant, the largest planet in our solar system. What you will find out is that that planet is covered with clouds, and those clouds are separated in bands. If you watch them in stop frame animation, meaning that they've taken snapshots, you will find that the bands move. Some bands move in one direction, and another bands move in the other. One band doesn't stop and reverse course. I ain't got nobody in here. They all continue to move in the direction that they're going. Amen? They're all trying to move, they all move in the same direction in which they're going. Amen? And what he's saying is that everything moves. It turns, the wind goes toward the south and turneth onto the north. It whirleth about continually, and the wind returneth. Amen? According to his circuits. Amen? So everything is a circuit. Everything moves. Amen? In a direction. How do I put this plain? Later on this month, it's going to be the opening of NASCAR season. Sister Watson doesn't like it. She doesn't understand why I like auto racing. Amen. I like auto racing. And she doesn't like, she has a problem with NASCAR because for her, it's boring. Because what do? They don't run on road courses, they run on ovals. And the joke for everybody with auto racing is, the only thing you got to do is turn left. There are no right turns. All the cars are set up, amen, to turn left. They're balanced in their configuration to make sure they can get in the left-hand corner as quickly and smoothly and as stably as possible. The problem is that NASCAR started adding road courses. Here's where it gets tricky. Those that master the oval have difficulty in mastering the road course. So that's why some teams bring in what I would call ringers, because they're not part of the NASCAR circuit. They specialize in driving road courses. Amen, somebody. Because you got to turn left and you got to turn right, and the car has to be equally balanced in order to make those turns. Because you're not just going left. Everything goes in the circuit. Amen. And he says that, and the rivers run into the sea. Amen. And that's true. The rivers run into the sea. The Mississippi River does not start in New Orleans. Amen, somebody. It does not start in New Orleans. The Mississippi River starts in Minnesota, near the Twin Cities. Amen, somebody. And it flows to New Orleans and the Gulf of Mexico. Amen. Because if you go up north, amen, somebody, if you go up north to Minneapolis, the Mississippi River is not that wide. By the time it reaches the Quad Cities, it's wide. And by the time it reaches, amen, and what surprised me with my first trip to Natchez, and we got to the Mississippi River, what astonished me was how wide the river had gotten by the time we got to Natchez, Mississippi. And then it gets wider when it gets to New Orleans. Amen. About to blow your mind. The Nile River does not start at the Mediterranean. It empties into the Mediterranean. The Nile River, it starts further south. Because when you look on the map, they give a classification. And because of how it's orientated on the map, it will confuse you. Because the Nile River doesn't start in Egypt. And that part of the river where it starts further in Africa is called the Upper Nile. Amen, somebody. Amen. And by the time it gets to the Mediterranean and Cairo and where Alexandria, Egypt used to be, it's called the Lower Nile because it empties into the river, into the sea. But the sea is never full. Amen, somebody. Unto the place the rivers come, thither they will return again. All things are full of labor. In other words, what the preacher, the teacher is saying is that the rivers begin a certain place. And where they come from, they're going to return again. That sounds like the cycle of evaporation. Hello, somebody.
Amen.
Amen. Remember what it says in the creation story in Genesis. it says that God said, let there be a separation from the waters on the ground and the waters above. Amen, somebody.
That's right.
Somebody, please, if you're getting what the Lord is laying down here, somebody say amen. Because we got too many folks that are walking around here not looking at stuff. Amen. They think they know it all, but they don't allow the teacher to teach.
Amen.
Amen, somebody. Because God is the one that separated what? The waters on the ground from the waters in the air. And the waters in the air come down in physical form. And what? They condense and come down. That sounds like rain. And fills the streams and creeks. And those streams and creeks pour into the rivers. Amen, somebody. And the rivers pour into the sea. I ain't got nobody in here.
Amen.
They return all again. All things are full of labor. Man cannot utter it. The eyes is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. We want to see everything. We want to hear everything. Amen, somebody. Why? Amen, somebody. I'm about to get you where it hurts. Why is it that we want to see everybody's stuff and everybody's business on social media? Amen, somebody. Why is it that we want to hear everybody's personal story and we think our story is interesting, so we post it? Amen. Because we've got folks that agree. Amen, somebody. Do you understand that the most outlandish stuff, the most personal stuff, folks post on it because they can think they can get monetized? Amen, somebody. And when folks get bored with it, they stop seeing it and they stop hearing it. So you got to come up with more outlandish stuff.
Yeah.
Because their eyes are not filled with what? Seeing. Nor the ears filled with hearing. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
Do you understand the vanity in that? That's emptiness. That's got no substance. All things are full of labor. They are worrisome. Man cannot utter it. There's some worrisome stuff that we can see. But just like looking at a car wreck, we don't get tired of looking at it. Amen.
Amen.
But here's the thing. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, that which is done, that which shall be done. Uh-oh. Kind of cryptic, ain't it, Chris? Let's put it in a language we can understand. Verse 9 in the Christian Standard Bible says, what has been will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. It's the same old song, just with a different beat since you've been gone. Amen, somebody. Think about it. We don't learn nothing. We think what was going on is new, but it ain't. Amen, somebody.
Amen.
The reason it ain't new is because the generation before you that went through it has passed on. That's going to catch it. The generation that was before you has done, passed on, and lived through it. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Those that oppose your right to exist, those that are scheming up ways to strip you of your rights, are doing it in a way that ain't new. The reason why they're doing it the way that they're doing it is because the generation, most of the folks in the generation that fought for it are no longer here. What do you mean, Reverend? What I mean is that if we go back to the first verse, if we don't listen to the teacher, amen, somebody, who's been through it, amen, somebody, spent some time and is on part of the generation that's going out, and you don't listen, you're going to repeat the problem, amen, somebody, and get caught up in the same things that your enemy tried to set for the generation before you. Amen, amen, somebody. Amen. That's why it's important to understand that what? You need to know your history. You need to know why grandma lived in a shotgun shack. Amen, somebody. You need to know your history, not rumors, not conspiracy theories, your history. Because life went on before you got here. And life is going to continue to go on after you leave. Why do you think in Deuteronomy chapter 6, Moses tells the people, teach your children.
Yes.
Amen, somebody.
Yes.
Oh, I ain't got nobody in here. We don't want to deal with that, huh? We don't want to teach our children. Teach them in your rising up and laying down. In your walking. Amen. Post the word on your door, the doorpost of your home. You got to teach your children. Amen, somebody. The Bible even states it in Exodus, the night of the Passover. God told Moses that when they asked, why do we do this memorial? Explain to them why. Amen, somebody. Why we celebrate the Passover. Why we celebrated it. What God had done for us. We got a lot of folks that don't learn from the teacher and think that they're the only one in here. There's nothing new under the sun. You don't know how grandma got through because you didn't want to listen to when grandma was trying to tell you the story. Amen, somebody. Amen. You don't understand how to make it when everybody's trying to close up shop and discriminate against you and take your job and try to make it harder for you. How did granddad get through? You didn't want to listen. Amen, somebody. Amen. And this really bugs me. Because if there's nothing new under the sun, and we're only temporary, and we don't listen to the teacher, what is it that overcomes these problems? What is it that remains constant and doesn't move in a cycle? Amen, somebody. The sun moves in a cycle. Life moves in a cycle. Wind moves in a cycle. But what is steadfast and doesn't move in a cycle? There's the only one that doesn't move in a cycle. Because he's not affected by cycles.
Yeah.
Amen, somebody.
Yes, sir.
There is only one that isn't affected by the cycle of the day or night. There's only one that doesn't move by the cyclonic nature of the wind. There's only one that outlasts the generation that left and the current generation that's here and then the future generation that's coming. There's only one, and that one is God. I wish I had somebody in here to understand that the God that I serve don't move when everybody else moves. The God that I serve is the same God that formed the heavens and the earth. The God that I serve is the same God that put the sun on his circuit. The God that I serve is the same one that not only made the water go into the seven seas, but is the same one that stomped the form out of them anyhow. Do I got anybody in here? But what does this mean, preacher? As I said, is the same God that I serve, is the same God that my great-grandparents served, the same God that brought them through hard times and tribulations, the same God that brought my great-grandfather from New Orleans, Louisiana, and found a place and settled in the neighborhood called Inglewood. I wish I had somebody in here, because he said the same God that moved Moses to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. He served the same God when everything was out of order and Pharaoh was on the Israel's tracks that opened up the Red Sea and made him cross clean on dry ground. Do I have anybody in here? The God that I serve was able to deliver back then with ancestors that I'd never met. He's still able to deliver now, going through the same things that I'm going through right now. He can do the same thing. You might write it off as some old folks' religion, but guess what? A relationship with God works through time. There is what it says. Jesus now, Jesus then, and Jesus forever. Because he's constant, moving through all elements of time. And because they trusted God then, and everything turned out all right, I'm going to trust the same God that brought them out, because he can bring me out. There's nothing new under the sun, because when I get caught up in that struggle on every hand, and it's the same struggle my great-grandfather had to run through, I can call on him. I can sit at the cemetery and look at his gravestone and get an answer from my great-grandfather. The only person I can call is
I'm enough. Dried all my tears. Lord, you said that I'm enough. Let others see. Lord, you said that I'm enough. It's not just me that needs to hear that I'm enough. I'm enough, I'm enough. I hear you say that I'm enough. I'm enough, I'm enough. I hear you say that I'm enough. Break through my fears. Lord, you said that I'm enough. Dried all my tears. Lord, you said that I'm enough. Let others see. Lord, you said that I'm enough. It's not just me that needs to hear that